I'm so glad to be here. And this is actually the first time that I am speaking in public in front of a live audience. Um, so I'm very scared. Thank you. Thank you. I really haven't had time to be scared, but
Now that I say it.
now that you said it, thanks for, reminding me. But yeah, so
We'll help you through.
thank you.
The room is full of love.
Okay, so first I'd like to, as some of you may know, I just published my first book, Bridging Realms. And I'd like to thank Katie for being a huge instrument and helping me make this happen. She's compiled the stories and experiences that I was sending her way. And, we went through the editing process together and made it happen. Otherwise, there's no way I could have made it happen in a year. I mean, so it's like, some people are like, what, a year? Without help? Yeah, 2 years, and yeah.
We were burning the midnight oil, as they say.
We really were total workaholic. I love her to death. We're sisters from other mothers, and we go way back. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about my gifts along the way since I was a child and where I am today. One of the things that people always ask me is if I've always had these gifts and spiritual gifts. And the answer is yes and no, really, because my gifts have gone through so many different stages throughout the years that I don't recognize the person I am today with who I was then. And some of the things that I was able to do then, I can't do now, and vice versa. So it's really also developing the skills by daily work. I mean, one of my natural gifts is seeing past lives. That's like a daily constant 24/7 thing. But as a child, though, I didn't really understand what past lives were. It was like I get these visions or places where I felt very familiar, or I really felt like I knew this person. I wasn't developed enough, nor did I have somebody to tell me that, oh, you're in a past life, or this is where you were in a past life. So it's like I had that kind of a recognition, but not mentally was not able to differentiate what's now, what's in the past. And so there's a lot of confusion. Along with that, I've always been an empath. So as an empath, it has not been an easy journey because I take on other people's energies and I didn't really know how to manage that. So when I would feel like somebody's suffering, it was like as if I was suffering. I would take that pain on myself. And then I didn't know how to manage it because then I'd have all these layers and layers of everybody's pain and suffering. Then I wanted, God to heal everybody. And I'd go into like these states of trance where I would pray for people and ask for healing. While they would get healed, I would get completely drained. So then I'm just like, trying to find my way and didn't understand my gifts, didn't know what I was doing, nor how to manage it. And even like being able to see through people sometimes, I had the ability to do that as a child, but my family really kind of they didn't really understand, so they just said, oh, no, that's not true. They kind of dismissed it like, oh, no, don't say that about your cousin's a good kid, but I saw, no. And then years later, it's like, you were right all along, and I'm like, I've been telling you. So that kind of went on for a long time. And finally, when I was a teenager, and by the way, throughout growing up, it's like I was called all kinds of names because I was like the weirdo, I was like the not normal kid. I was like the witch, the scary one. And so everyone was like, stay away from her. She's going to tell you things and then they're going to happen. Be careful, um, Every night was Halloween. I'm telling you, there's a lot of, yeah, Halloween stories I can tell too. But anyways,
Were you in public school?
yes, I was. I was in public school. And like I remember when I was in school, when I was in high school once, I had this friend and I just saw his car getting totaled. But I saw it getting totaled at nighttime. It wasn't during the day. So I told him, I said, please, whatever you do, promise me, do not drive your car tonight. As long as you go home during the day, you'll be okay. And he promised me like a million times. So that night, he didn't drive, but much to his surprise, his sister snuck off with the car keys and drove his car, and the car was totaled. So,
Was she okay?
she was okay, but the car was not. So then that was even a bigger story to tell in school about me, like, great, So finally, I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be one of the rest. It's like, please, God, I was like praying. I'm like, whatever this is, just take it away from me because I can't handle it. It's too much, and I would take on too much of other people's suffering. So God's like, okay, we'll stop practicing. So what I did was I started drinking and smoking pot and smoking cigarettes, trying to numb myself. And oh, this is the way I can shut my gifts off, And so I did that for a while, but I totaled a few cars and I ditched a lot of school. Don't remember anything from school. It was just one disaster after the next. My parents didn't know what to do with me, and I swore at that time that I was never going to have a kid because I didn't want my kid to turn out to be like me. I'm like, no, this is bad. It's bad being a teenager, especially a rebellious teenager. So at any rate, after I was done partying, I decided that if I didn't sober up, I could end up dead. And so when I sobered up, I cold turkey, no rehab, no medications, nothing, quit drinking, quit smoking, everything. Got away from the party lifestyle and moved from California to here when I was in my 20s. So I just wanted to get away from all the bad influences and everything. Fortunately, that was a big good move, but I do miss California, sometimes the beach. At any rate, so later on, just kind of fast forwarding to 2018, back when I was at a fork in my career where I didn't know whether I should go back to corporate America or what in the world I should do. I was offered some lucrative positions where I could have made a lot of money. I was a pretty successful recruiter and a certified recruiter, and so I didn't know though. And at that point, my guidance kept telling me over and over and over again, you have to start your own practice and help others. Now, mind you, I had gotten certified as a hypnotherapist and a Reiki practitioner and psychiatrist. I had all these certifications, but I never really did anything with it as a career. So it's just like for fun, for myself, for others. And that was great. But to go out there and start my own practice without having any clients, without having an office, without knowing how I was going to survive, without where's the money going to come from. But in the same week when I got that message, I kept getting the message that you have to start your own business. And a friend of mine here in Colorado, she gave me the same message. Erica, have you thought about starting your own practice? Isn't it time? Isn't it time that you start using your gifts to help others? I was like, oh my God, she's crazy. I'm crazy. We're crazy. What's going on? Pulling my hair out, like shaking and going through these stages of disbelief. Like, I'm not really hearing this. This isn't real. So then later, same week, I had a call from my best friend who was in California, telling me exactly the same thing. Terrified. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I decided to go to the mountains and sit by a river and really talk to God, are you serious? How am I going to do this? How am I going to survive? Is this a joke? Is this a practical joke? Are you just testing me? No, no. I just kept, and then I just had like shivers going up and down my spine, just crying and really wondering what in the world this is really happening. I mean, I thought about it throughout the years. And I remember many years ago, I told a friend, she's like, honey, the world is not ready for you yet. And she's the same friend that told me, isn't it time that you start your own practice? You know? So I was like, okay, okay. So I started with hypnotherapy and regressing people to the root of their challenges. That was easy, you know, I just kind of followed some guidelines and everything. And but the root of their challenges most often is either in other planets or past lives. It could be thousands of years ago. It could be with the people that they currently know in this life that they've had challenges with, karma to resolve, lessons to learn, so on. I realized that when I did that, they were kind of limited based on their capacity because it's not like they did my daily work of past lives and, you know, what the whole picture looks like. They can just get caught up in one emotional trauma and not be able to get past it and see anything else. So it was like a little limiting. And then before I knew it, I just started to get downloads and downloads and downloads while I was doing sessions. Like their past lives just flashing before me, flashing before me, flashing before me. And I was like, wow, this is really crazy. So then I'd start to share it with people. I'm like, remember your attention was this? Well, your father is connected to you from your current life and this past life when there's this tragedy and blah, blah, blah. And now you have this fear of loss. So just kind of connecting the dots. So that was really kind of profound. And, you know, people were getting more and more excited about the work. So then it was less and less regression and more about, you know, connecting the dots for people and helping them look at the big picture and have a higher understanding about their life lessons, why they're here, what karma they need to resolve, what their contracts look like, you know, why they decided to reincarnate with particular people in their lives, and what is it that their soul really needed to accomplish in order to evolve and get to the next level and potentially not come back if they don't want to come back. I mean, it's optional for any of us, but as far as you know, getting everything that their soul needed. And so anyway, so then just kind of fast forwarding a little bit to back in 2024, April of 2024, when I was guided to write my book. And what led me there was while I was doing a session with a regular client. She'd been my client for a couple of years. She has only done remote sessions. I do remote and in person. I've never met her in person up until now, but just a delightful young woman and very determined to expand spiritually, and has just been really growing some big wings and establishing her own gifts along the way as we've been working together. So I thought, cool, let's see what past life we're going to see. Okay, what's your intention? Oh, it has to do with your mother. Okay, great. So I'm there like getting a glimpse of this past life that that they shared. But then while I'm getting this vivid picture, like not a picture like a movie, at the same time, I got the word overlap. And I'm like, what in the world is overlap? Because I get these words and they don't always make sense to me at the time. Sometimes they make sense to other people, but it didn't make any sense to me at that time. I'm like, overlap. I'm like, overlap. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm being shown another picture, another movie unfolds before my eyes, where this client of mine, who's in my book, her name is Jasmine, her real name is Jasmine, and she decided she was living two lives at one time. So there was like a part of her living in a human existence here on Earth. And then there's another part of her living in another realm, astral realm, while simultaneously living these two lives with the same soul connected to her intention, which was some healing that she needed to do around her mom. So it was the same soul as her current life's mom. So I was like, oh my God. For me, it was mind blowing because, first of all, I don't really read much. So I'm not familiar with all the materials out there. So to me, it was like, oh, wow, this is like going to Disneyland for the first time. You know, it was like exciting. I'm like, who am I going to tell? Wow, this is so. And Jasmine's on the other line, like, I can really feel what you're telling me. You know, she was in shock. I'm in shock. We're like, whoa. So I found out what the healing opportunity was, and I had her lie down in a comfortable position and in the comfort of her own home, and walked her through using some essential oils and also placing some stones on top of her. So if somebody comes in person, I do that for them, but over the phone, I walk them through that process. So she lied down, and I pretty much took over. I began the healing process, which starts with, you know, clearing the energy. When I go inside somebody and I'm doing the actual energy work, it's like I can feel where the blockages are within them, within their chakras. It could be in their big toe, it could be anywhere. And I'm able to know what that pertains to, whether who or when or what it pertains to. So as I'm moving through them, I'm like, oh, this is connected to your money issues pertaining to past life, present life with this person, and so on. And so as I'm also doing some reprogramming, typically people are in a very hypnotic state when I'm guiding their soul through the healing process. So, and a lot of times people do fall asleep, especially the ones that trust me, that really learn to let go and let God and get out of my way and God's way, because it's really not me. I'm just serving as the guide. You know, I'm not the healer. It's just the energies moving through me, out and into the client. So I began the healing process with her, and it knocked her out so hard she couldn't wake up. I mean, she went into and I did not feel like I was in my body. Like when somebody that I'm working with is not in their body, I don't feel my feet. I feel like completely numb down there. I'm like, oh boy, and I can't wake her up, and she's totally out of her body. Now what do I do? I'm like, help, you know, patiently taking notes, waiting. Hello, are you back? You know, and finally she was like, whoa, that was the most intense experience I've ever had. And I'm like, are you in your body? She's like, not at all. And I'm like, yeah, I don't feel it. She's like, I am completely floating. I said, oh, great. Now what do I do? So I tried to reel it back down, man, but it was not working. Not at that time. And so when I tried to get her grounded and back, my guidance told me, stay out of it. She's going through her entire timeline and shifting everything. It was like her higher self took over. And so she's just going from boom, from one life after the next. It was like the most fascinating thing. And I'm just like, I'm out of my body. She's out of my body. We're like, whoa. Yes, if we're on the most powerful drugs. By the way, you guys, if you do this, you won't need drugs. You won't need to drink. You won't need any of that. Forget about your mushrooms and acid and everything. None of that needed. Thank you very much. Natural high all the way. Just won't know when you're going to come back. And the high might last for many days to come. You know, the healing process is ongoing, so it doesn't necessarily end when we start when we stop the session. Fortunately, the session that I was doing with this young lady, she promised me that she wasn't going to drive that day, that she was going to stay home, and because she's out of her body. And I said, okay, fine. A couple hours later, my guidance told me, check on her now. So I called her up. I didn't call her, I apologize. I texted her. I said, how are you doing? Are you back? And because I finally felt like I was back in my body, because I feel what other people feel. And she's like, I just got back in my body. Oh my God. I can't contain myself. This is way too powerful. I don't know what to do with all this. I said, please, just whatever you do, don't leave your house. Not safe. Just, she's like, no, I have nowhere to go, nothing planned, which was really smart because she's a regular client. She knows not to do that because I don't know how somebody's going to feel about it after we're done with the session. Super powerful. So then when that happened, my guidance told me, you have to write a book and you have to include the story in your book. And I was like, here we go again. And the knocking begun. And, you know, I'm just like, knock, knock. Come on, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. Finally, I was like, okay. A couple of my friends confirmed. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Listen to your heart. Listen to your guidance. You got this. You were supposed to do this a long time ago, but now that you're being guided, do it, please. I was like, okay, great. The first person that crossed my mind was Ms. Katie Connolly, the Ms. Katie Connolly, the angel. She had done some sessions with me, and I knew that she was a ghostwriter, and I knew that she was an editor. And so she had the skills that I don't have. So I thought, I'm going to need all the help I can get. I reached out and I knew other ghostwriters and editors, but it's like as if they got dismissed. They got erased. Like I had to have her work with me. And I'm so glad we did. We worked practically every single day for nearly a year. Almost a year, just like a week or two short of a year, really. And we made it happen. So I would record sessions and send them her way and give her information and just, you know, just bomb her with information. And how are you doing, Katie? I think the most difficult part was the editing part for me because I'm not wired that way. But anyways, and since then though, I thought that, oh yeah, this is great. And no, more and more and more and more bigger experiences I started to have. It's like almost my capacity is like, I don't know, it's just like multiplied. And so some of the chapters in my book are about like near-death experiences, about splitting of souls, about fragmented souls, karma, what led, excuse me, what has led us here, and all of that fun stuff. And I'd like to just read a little bit. This is part of my book, but the writing is too small for me, so she was kind enough to send me some bigger type stuff. But like, for example, one of the stories that I would like to share, well, actually, before I get to that, I'd like to share with you a couple of stories before I get to the splitting of souls and all of that. The one that I found to be very intriguing. There's a client of mine that came to me a couple of years ago, and she was temporarily living here, but her home was in New York. And when she was in New York, she saw this famous psychic that she had seen the psychic, but the psychic had told her fiance that your fiance is going to go to Colorado, and there's a woman there, gave my first name, that's going to help her. Now, this lady had traveled around the world, had gone on all kinds of retreats and taken all kinds of classes and, you know, had done one-on-one sessions with all kinds of therapists, you name it. She had this one debilitating experience throughout her entire life that no matter what modality, what healer, what, you know, whatever retreat that she'd gone to, nobody was able to help her with. what would happen to her? She would be perfectly normal, you know, and then all of a sudden, she didn't even know what the trigger was. All of a sudden, she would get triggered because it was always something different. And she would be completely paralyzed. She couldn't talk. She couldn't eat. She couldn't leave her home. She couldn't function. And she didn't know how long it was going to last. It was like she would be a whole different person and it could last for days on end. Imagine being like a zombie like that for days. That's horrific. And nobody being able to figure out what in the world is wrong with you. So the reason why she came to me was because she wanted to find out the root. Well, they didn't show me the root right off the bat. She had several sessions to get ready for that. We did a lot of past life work, present work, you know, with all these people and traumas and karma and you name it. And one day my guidance told me she's ready. It's time. It's time. Ask her if she wants to know what happened and what the root of her challenges is. And I was like, and I asked her, I said, do you want to know? Do you want to know what happened in a past life? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure? Positive. And this was in at the office, so it was in person. So my guidance is telling me you have to look into her eyes and then the movie will unfold. So I asked, I said, can I look into your eyes? She said, yeah. So I brought my chair, I sat right in front of her. And I began to get downloads of when she was in a concentration camp and what happened to her. So some of the noises, some of the twirling of the hair, some of these things that she saw and heard that she could not disconnect from, that was still in her cells. So certain little like triggers would get awakened. And then all of a sudden she's back in that paralyzed, scared, petrified way. So as I'm giving her the messages, I'm feeling all the sensations. There's tears coming down my cheeks. I mean, I'm just like shaking. I'm like, oh, and this happened and that happened. And she's just staring at me like she's in a total trance. Like I don't even know if she was blinking. She's just staring at me. And then finally, when I'm done delivering the messages, I'm like, does that resonate with you? And she's like, 100%. It makes perfect sense. She's had visions of concentration. She's had all these fears, but she never really brought things together. They're just kind of scattered all over the place in her memory. So that's when we finally got to the root, and I was able to move her soul through a healing process and just completely change that memory and then do soul retrieval and rescue all the souls that have been traumatized in that kind of a situation, all the souls that were ready, which was really, really, really profound. And by the time we're done, she's like, would you skip down the hall with me? She's like, we have to celebrate. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we're skipping down the hall. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Ever since then, there's been no sign of her having any of those paralyzing feelings. And it's been probably a year and a half now. It's been a long time since I've heard of any episodes, and they would reoccur. Sometimes they would reoccur a number of times a month. You know, it was really unpredictable.
Why do you suppose it took several sessions?
Oh, because of what came through, her soul had to be ready. She had to be ready consciously. She had to be ready spiritually. She had to be able to handle that level of information and not allow it to traumatize her, right? By knowing that, adding to her trauma, you know, and then being too paralyzed to deal with more information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like a step-by-step building her foundation process to the point of being ready. That's an excellent question. Yeah. So as far as like, I have some chapters about soul retrieval and splitting of souls and everything like that. So what I'd like to do is share with you a little bit so that some of you are not in the dark. By the way, have any of you heard of soul retrieval?
Yeah.
Okay, so many people have. Good, good, good. And then what about splitting of souls? You have not, okay. I didn't know anything about that until a year ago. I mean, so that was an eye-opening experience for me. It's like, what? Her soul split into two and she's living two lives at one time? And usually, people do that when they're ready to accelerate their evolving process. So instead of living 8 more lifetimes, they choose to live 8 lives at one time and just be done with their lessons, with their karma, with their whatever it is that they need to accomplish. So they can graduate and go wherever they want to go if they choose to. Some choose to come back, some choose not to. So it's just totally optional. So let me read the splitting of souls and the difference between that and fragmented souls. Have you guys heard of souls being fragmented? Anyone? Good. Okay. You have not. Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. So I think that this information is kind of important. It's also in my book. So as far as the split souls, which is different than fragmented from trauma. It is food for thought that perhaps soul energy splits according to some sacred geometry pattern or fractal, growing and evolving through many physical forms. A Kabbalistic source mentions that a person's soul can divide into an unlimited amount of roots. And within a single root, there is an unlimited amount of sparks. The spiritual realm is by nature boundless. From each root comes out a different potential. Perhaps souls are like the ever expanding branches of a tree, continually growing in new directions to find necessary nourishment and light. Are we all regrown fragments of some huge soul that keeps splitting and branching off? It is an intriguing theory. Perhaps these seeming fractions of souls eventually rejoin after gaining all the necessary experiences to feel their purpose is complete. Perhaps some will choose to go their separate ways. A split soul is not the same as being fragmented. The splitting itself does not cause damage. Trauma from our past or present life can fragment a soul, leaving a piece of us scared, stuck in the past, or not having the words to express ourselves. Fragmentation is like the splintered piece of a broken mirror or a cracked cell phone screen. Fragmentation of the soul can occur when one or more of the split pieces become damaged in this way. So, like, for example, the story that I just shared with a lady who was getting triggered and who's in that concentration camp, well, her soul was fragmented. So I had to help heal those parts of her so she would no longer have the same triggers and be able to live a healthy life. And then as far as soul retrieval, where I did some soul retrieval work for the souls that were all affected during that trauma or vibrationally aligned any of their lifetimes where they were in that powerless, oppressed, and really scary situation. How many of you have heard of soul retrieval? Oh, good. Excellent. That's really good. I'm glad to see. You don't know what it is. Okay. All right, great. So now this is for you then. When an individual experiences a traumatic death event or undergoes a significant change in their life, including death itself, a part of their soul may become fragmented or separated from the rest of their being. The ultimate goal of soul retrieval is to guide souls stuck in the sorrows of life after death toward the light without judgment or hesitation, so they can find peace and move forward in their journey of expanded consciousness. So whether or not somebody is dead or alive, soul retrieval can happen for any, because I deal with people on a soul level, and sometimes it's not easy for me to tell whether they're dead or alive, because I'm really communicating with their soul. And so I've learned to ask, hey, is your uncle dead or alive? Because his soul is present right now. And this is the message he's giving me. And he's here to support you in this way. Does this make sense? Yeah. Oh yeah, he's, so it could be someone that's dead or alive. And a lot of times people's deceased loved ones or spirit guides, whoever that's necessary for their healing process will join in on sessions. And then the other thing that I'd like to, there's also a very important element of what has led us here, why we're here. Because I remember when I was a kid, I used to cry and say, why is this person suffering like this? Why is this person going hungry? Why is this person being beaten? And then I would take that on. It's like, and everything would just go right inside my heart. And I just cry and cry and cry. That's all I did every day, cry. Really, I cried myself to sleep practically on a daily basis for many years. And my brother, he's a wise old soul, very spiritual. I love him to death. He said, Erica, you need to understand that we're all here because of karmic reasons, lessons to learn, and we all have a past, which is what led us here. So this is what I have in my book about karma. Karma is the system of cause and effect. It is the consequences of our actions, whether they are good or bad. Karma sets recurring patterns into place. People can create a framework of belief systems based on karma, such as thinking they deserve to suffer or be in miserable relationships. Becoming aware of karmic lessons gives us the opportunity to make appropriate decisions and do inner healing work, along with working with those we have created karma with. There's always a reason why there are people in our lives, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, neighbor, it doesn't matter. As long as you're learning your life lessons, you can work through karma by doing inner healing on yourself and potentially on those who may be connected to the necessary karmic work. You can then practice new ways of being so history doesn't repeat itself. The ultimate goal of karma is not to suffer, but to learn our lessons and find peace with those we have had conflict with. So one of the things that when we do the karmic work, when we do our inner work, any type of work, those who we are connected with and who we may have had past lives with, we may have conflicts with, they can also get healed in the process as well. It's usually mutually beneficial. And I also do surrogation work where, I can either be in surrogation for somebody or my client can be, where we can indirectly work with their higher self and higher power and get permission and find out what the root of their challenges are and help them get to the next level. It's especially good for people that don't believe in this work or that are kids or just not able to communicate maybe in the same language or whatever the case might be. Which kind of leads me to this example of one of my clients who came to me last year in January. She was on the verge of getting a divorce. She had 2 little children. Just this beautiful, successful career woman, hard worker, great mother to her kids, cared a lot. But she just couldn't handle her husband anymore. Her husband was never around. He would go missing for days, was not providing an income, was not, present for the kids, was not helping raise the kids, and was smoking pot every day, was drinking every day, and just nobody there, right? And she's like, I thought I was marrying a provider and a protector, but he's neither. And I'm really contemplating divorce. And I said, and I always tell my clients this, let's go ahead and do some work on you first, and then decide what really is for your highest good. And if we're guided to, let's do some work on your husband too, indirectly. Her husband was not a believer of this work. To be honest with you, he called me a crazy woman.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, but this crazy woman saved his life. he just doesn't know that because to make a very long story short, after she did several sessions and her foundation was strong enough, she was finally able to be in this place of doing surrogation work for her husband. So through her, we did some work for him that was for his highest good. Like he had some fears about money and he didn't want to make a lot of money and lose it all like he did in a past life. And he was just afraid of a lot of her goals and they weren't aligned vibrationally at all in any way. So anyways, after doing it, I think 1 or 2 sessions strictly for her husband alone, and I have this on recording and I sent this to Katie. I was like, listen to this tonight. She's like, my husband, he quit drinking. He quit smoking pot. He doesn't even drink caffeine anymore. He wakes up in the morning, takes a shower, has some herbal tea, and is ready for the day. He started his own contracting business. He's providing and protecting her in like family disputes and things like that. So she finally got that provider protector as a result of the work that we did for him indirectly. The crazy woman and her did indirectly. So she's happily married now, like her dreams have come true. And so that's kind of like the surrogation that I wanted to share. By the way, there's I'll try to rush through a couple of more stories before I open it up to, are we good with time still? Okay. Before I open it up for questions and comments and things like that. So I went to this house where, actually before I went to the house, this mother and daughter called me. They're both on the phone. They're frantic about all the noises, all the paranormal activities that were happening in the house. And they couldn't sleep at nights. And it was getting really old. And then it turned out the entire neighborhood was haunted. So everybody was having problems in that whole neighborhood. And the ladies, and both of the ladies were seeing the same massage therapist who had referred them to me. The massage therapist had thought that there was just this one spirit that was causing all of this and kept kicking this old man out. And then and they're like, he's back. Then she kicked the old man out. She's back. I said, okay. And they're like, can you help us? Because he just keeps coming back. And I was like, yeah, sure. Do you want to do remote or in person? No, in person. We need you in person because that lady's too scared to come in person. So you need to come in person. Are you okay with that? Are you going to be safe? And I'm like, yeah, I think I can handle it. I mean, I call on my guides and, protection and all of that. I go prepared. And usually when I show up at a house, when I turn Palo Santo or Sage on, that's my switch that gets turned on. So I could see the spirits, I could see what's going on, I could see if there's any spirit guides and what's happened on that land or from the previous people, or if there's any extraterrestrial activities. And in this home, all of the above took place. I mean, everything. So I had my hands full, my God. When I was inside the house, there was several spirits I had to deal with, whereas that lady thought there was just one, right? And one of the spirits was like this chief Indian that was keeping the rest of the spirits out of the house. That was in the neighborhood, right? Because he was like in charge. But there's like 8 of them in that house. So anyway, so I did soul retrieval. I helped them find out what they were doing there. Some were related from past lives with the people that lived there, as well as from the land and people that lived there previously. And when I do soul retrieval, I don't just kick spirits out because they're just going to come right back. It doesn't work that way. You got to find out what their business is, what they're doing, what they need, what the healing opportunity is. If they're open for that, then I help, integrate some new decisions and clear some of the trauma out of their cells, and then call on the guides to take them to a higher realm where they align with. There's so many different places they can go to. Endless. So anyway, so my guides escorted them. Great. We got to the backyard. So we got to the backyard and we got to where there's like this double brick fence. And when I got there, I just started to tremble. I'm like, And the mother and daughter are just looking at each other. Is she having a heart attack? Are you okay, Erica? And I'm like, give me a minute. I don't know what this is, but this is different energy, you know? And they're like, oh, shoot, you know, to call 911. You know, I'm like, let me just sit here for a minute. And so I had a vision of this extraterrestrial being. It was like all dark. And as I started to explain what I was seeing, there was kind of like, so these bushes kind of created this cave, and it was like in the cave. That's where I felt like it was just there. It was very, very, very recent. And I was like, in this area is what I feel, this dark. And then the lady's like, let me stop you right there. She goes, don't tell me, did it have green eyes? I said, yes, it did. And she's, what's that?
Shivers.
Yeah, exactly. And then she smacks her daughter on the arm. As an adult, you know, it's not a kid. She's not abusing her. She's like, you see, I told you so. She's like, oh my God. She's like, I told you. She goes, we were sitting on the patio over there. Me, my husband, and my daughter. We're sitting there. And I kept saying, do you guys see those pair of green eyes? Blinking, blinking. And they kept saying, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. The whole body was black. You know, I mean, I see some weird looking, you know, extraterrestrials that you don't read about. You know, I see apes, I see this, you know, just different forms, different color. They're not all gray or blue or whatever that you see, or white, you know, that you read about maybe. So at any rate, so I was like, okay, it was just here. So, but I said, but I did get the message that it was not going to harm anyone in any way. They're just there to explore, to get information, to learn about this, whatever, this Earth school that we live on, and so on. And they just take information to their planets. Well, a couple months later, the lady called me. She's like, they're back. And I'm like, oh no. She's like, yeah, they're back. I said, that's really surprising, because when I do the work with spirits, they don't come back, because I make sure to do the work so they don't come back. And they're like, I don't know, they're keeping us up again. I'm like, oh, great. So I went back with my Palo Santo and candle, and here we go. So they're talking to me, and we're on the first floor, and my guidance kept telling me, they're all downstairs. They're all downstairs. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, every time I wanted to tell them they're downstairs, they just kept talking to me. And finally, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, ladies, but they're telling me they're downstairs. And as soon as I said that, they saw their dog coming up the stairs, all slow, all scared, making these sounds. And yeah, she's right. Look how scared. So I went downstairs. Guess what I found? In that. Worse than that. Not one, not two, but I literally saw a total of any other guesses? We got 1 and 2. Yeah. No 7, no 3.
A live body.
No. That's not so exciting. Live body. There was 58.
What?
Spirits. 58 spirits.
Wow.
So some of these guys went and gathered.
To the basement?
Yeah, it was in the basement. They were all in the basement, crowded around, from babies to old to everything in between. Indians. They were American Indians.
It was a Native American village.
Yes, it
Or
was.
burial ground, something.
There was a brush fire that burned down this whole village. And so they all wanted me to help them. So it wasn't the old spirits. the chief Indian was keeping the rest of them out of the house. But once I helped the chief Indian transition into a better place, there's no guards at the house anymore. So they're all just walking right in, making themselves at home. Oh, cool. She could hear things and sense things. You know, the pot of plant would get flipped upside down on the ground. The purse would get thrown off the table. You know, like all kinds of activities, thumping sound of a horse going across on the wood floor, keeping them up at night, right? So let me finish and then I'll get to your question because I'll lose, I'll forget what I'm talking about, Janelle. Thank you. So anyway, so I helped retrieve all these souls and take them to a better place. I said, let's go to the backyard. Let's see what's back there. So I go to the backyard and I didn't sense any energy in the bushes where I found that one, sensed that one ET at. So then I continued to walk by the fence. There I go again, shaking, shaking, shaking. The vibrations are very different when you feel fresh extraterrestrial energy. How many of you have ever experienced that? Anyone? 2, 3, great, 4, wonderful. Do you guys know what I mean? How you feel the difference between human and higher vibrational frequency, right? So then I started to shake. I'm very sensitive to energy. I started to shake. And I said, you know what? These are not the same ones. It's not the same being that I saw last time. They're different. And they were just here. And then my guidance kept telling me, they're coming back, they're coming back, they're coming. And I said, they're coming back, but don't worry, they're not going to hurt you. And the lady's like, no, I'm not worried. I feel like they're my friends. I said, good, that's good. And I even pointed in the direction. This is a house in Parker. I even pointed in the direction where I saw the spaceship. And I said, it was like, there's like house. Okay, so it's her house. There's houses here. And then there's like an open field. And I said, in that open field, straight ahead, like where I was pointing, I said, that's where I see their craft coming into that kind of like a foresty area. I said, so just keep your eyes peeled. Let me know. Yeah, for spaceship. And I said, let me know if you guys see anything. I mean, they're believers in my work, so they're like, okay. So either that night or the night after, I was getting one short video after the next. After they sent me several short videos of the spaceship right in the area where I had pointed at. So, and yeah, it's like one short clips after the next after that. I shared one with Katie way back. So anyway, but ever since then, and this has been a while since I've been to that house. It's been well over a year. No more. There's been no more. And I said, you know what? I need to go and knock on all these your neighbors' houses and tell them that they need to pay up because they're not going to have any more extraterrestrial or any paranormal activities in their homes because everybody was complaining in that neighborhood. So that was pretty cool. Now there's one other story I'd like to share, which is about a near-death experience. His name is Dennis, and he's in chapter 11 of my book. He's very advanced in many ways, and he came to me because he wanted a session to align himself for his future mission. He's one of those people that wears like many hats, entrepreneur, very ambitious and extremely intelligent. And I thought, cool, I'm going to have a near-death experience chapter in my book. Yay, Katie, be on the lookout for this, you know, because I'd record and just send it her way, you know. And she's like, oh, okay, great. So I'm excited, you know, this is going to be a near-death experience. It turned out to be more than that, but let me just kind of read a part of the chapter, of Dennis's chapter. So this is what he was explaining to me during the session in terms of what his near-death experience felt like. So before reading this, he was actually power washing a house, getting it prepared to have some paintwork done. And during that process, he thinks that he got bit by a black widow spider, which generally kills people, right? So he went home that day and it was really hurting. The swelling was getting bigger and redder and this and that. And he looked it up. He's like, yeah, sure enough, it's got to be a black widow spider bite. He didn't have medical insurance at that time. This is many years ago. And he just decided to use some ointment or something and go to sleep. Well, he woke up and it was a lot worse. And by the second night, he thought, I know, he thought, this is it. This is it. I'm dying. And he does feel like he did die that night. And this is the way that he described the feeling. Suddenly, so when he went to sleep that night, or anyways, when he was having that near-death experience, I should say, suddenly I felt connected to everything around me. I had a profound knowing that there was an invisible energetic thread linking me to animals, trees, people, everything, even rocks and houses. Everything had an energetic vibration, and I instinctively understood this, even though I had never studied quantum physics or vibration before. Later, I learned about these concepts, which validated what I had experienced. I then saw a ball of energy, almost like an orb, but it felt both inside and outside of me, encompassing everything. I felt completely at peace and realized I had the choice to leave this world if I wanted, but I didn't want to. I wanted to experience unconditional love while I was still here. That was the one thing that he felt like he never experienced, unconditional love. The energy I saw entered my body, vibrating through me and down my leg where the spider bite was. I fell asleep, and when I woke up the next morning, the spider bite was completely gone. There wasn't even a mark left to show that it had ever been there. For the next 6 months, I lived in an intensely heightened state of awareness, fully connected to everything around me, although that heightened sense has faded somewhat. The connection has never gone away. The experience remains the most undeniable truth I've ever encountered. Isn't that fascinating? So I was like super excited about that. He shared that with me. And I said, how long ago was that? Oh, it was whatever years ago, right? And I said, but did you have an experience when you were a child? Did you have a near-death experience when you were a child? He said, I'm not sure if I did. I said, what happened to you when you were a child? Because I kept getting childhood. Ask him about childhood. Ask him about childhood. And he said, well, I got ran over by a truck. accidentally got ran over by a truck. Okay. Accidents do happen. Anyway, so I was like, oh, I said, were you in a coma? He goes, I don't know. I don't remember anything, because I kept getting the word coma. And then I kept getting near-death experience. But he was in the hospital for like 9 or 10 days. He's got no recollection of that. So what takes this near-death experience further than some of the others I've heard about, because not everybody experiences the splitting of souls, but in his case, that's what happened when he was a child, 4 or 5 years old, when he got ran over by a truck. I literally saw, they showed me like half of his soul remained in this physical body and this physical existence. The other half of his soul split into 8 and began to live different existences on Earth and in other realms. And so in effect, it's like living 9 lives. That's kind of cool. Yeah. This guy has 9 lives. We should have, titled it The Cat with Nine Lives. But anyways, 9 lives simultaneously. And so that was part of the problem why he kind of felt like he wasn't all here sometimes. He felt like there was something missing. He didn't always feel whole. He felt kind of scattered. He didn't always feel grounded, right? So I reunited him with his other parts so that they each have a sense of wholeness. Exactly. When we communicate with souls, it can happen anytime, anywhere, right? We can gather souls. After that experience, it feels like things got very aligned, and he's a lot more focused. He's a lot more productive. He's accomplished even more goals. I don't know how that was possible, but he's got a lot of energy. And he's like this super high achiever. He still does sessions with me. He did one last weekend that was very profound. And I did some coaching work with him to help him, expand his spiritual gifts and how to use it with others. So he can kind of lead and help others. I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to go through all of, some of the experiences that I had thought about sharing today. But Janelle, I have not forgotten about you. So please, I hope you still remember your question.
I do, it was
Okay.
just, and it came out later. I wanted to know where all this paranormal stuff was. And you said it was in
Parker.
Parker.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's like these really neighborhood with really large homes.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful area,
Mhm.
but some people that can see spirits
Mhm.
have been able to see. It's like they stay away, like that massage therapist are like, oh no, I'm not going. I already saw from far distance all the spirits that are around that neighborhood. So yeah, it's
Okay.
there. And with me, it's like when I see spirits, it's usually intentional. It's like, okay, turning the Palo Santo on, the light goes on and I'm able to see. So I'm not one of the, but so I'm not like, if I'm at home, I'm automatically gonna see, unless if there's a message and they're trying to communicate to me, or sometimes I'll get intruders where I have to, I had some the other night where I had to deal with them and take them out. Yes,
Do you know what tribe it was?
I have no idea.
Okay, were you able to?
I
help
don't
them?
remember, honestly. Maybe I did then, but at this point, I don't recall if I did.
You were able to help them move on?
Oh, of course. I did a group retrieval. And while I was doing that, when I saw how blissful it was, usually when it's like something very profound, because in effect, it's almost like they turn into light, while they're being escorted out and away. And usually I do a lot of crying. It's like, I just shake while I go through that process. It's very profound, and people watch me cry all the time. And that's what I do. Or people, when they come to me, it's like this, this lady who flew in from Wisconsin to do a session the other day. She's like, I never cry. And she cried 90% of the session. Either they're crying, I'm crying, or we're crying together. Yes.
With the last story that you told about the fellow when hit by a truck split off into 8 lives, his soul split off.
Yes.
Where did they go? Were they in
Different
physical?
existences. Oh, some in the physical and some in other realms. It was a combination. And some actually decided to, have you guys heard of walk-ins?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Some decided to walk in and live through other, like for example, one of his parts decided to walk into this Indian guru's body and have his experiences. And when I mentioned that to him about this Indian guru, he said that he's always had a deep connection with him, and it totally resonated with him. And he was actually an Indian guru in a past life himself. Dennis was, and I told him, I said, I see you cross-legged sitting in a state of trance, and then I see you levitating. And you were 84 years old, and while you're levitating, I see that you died. That's when you transitioned. And And then he looked up, that the significance of 84 years old. Do you remember what he called
It's
that?
about some guru length of life where they accomplish all their goals. Or something like that, yeah.
It's like certain amount of moons and
Sacred
whatever.
number of moons, yeah.
Yeah, sacred number of moons that they've lived to, and so it's a state of something. Anyways, it's in my book, but yeah, so that was pretty because I literally saw exactly what he looked like too, and so that was part of his session as well. That was fun.
It reads really well in the book.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
brings you right in.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I loved his chapter. It's really intense because it's like a lot of word for word what he was saying, you
I'd like to
know.
read that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love that too. Maybe one day when I do a talk, I can have him because, he's also great with coaching young adults. And so recently I've come across a couple of young adults that can benefit from mentorship from him because of all that he's been through. And these other young adults have multiple split souls as well. So they're very much aligned. So yeah, he's amazing. He's doing a lot of work for all ages. Any other question? Yes. Anything else? It's a daily thing, to be honest with you. One thing that with me personally, for example, I always feel energies and I can always feel when I'm in a past life. Like I'll get sensations like a pressure in my third eye or, some discomfort in my stomach or in my heart. And so I tune in. So by being mindful and aware when you feel any kind of sensations, tuning in. And one thing that I use on a regular basis are crystals. And one crystal that I can't live without, well, there's a number of them, but which one should I talk about? Selenites, like a selenite wand, which is great for clearing energy. So like, let's say that your heart is hurting, just take the wand and spin it counterclockwise and ask, what is the message? What is this about? And then see if anything comes through. Now, while you're doing that, another thing that you can do is use the stone called serpentine. Have any of you heard of serpentine? Oh man, it's my favorite stone. It really helps with the third eye and crown chakra. So it opens up your connection to past lives, to, seeing beyond the surface, to your intuition, to your guidance. I like to put that on my third eye or my crown chakra or like, for example, at the end of the day, when I lie down to go to sleep, I'll have selenite and serpentine here. I'll have selenite, serpentine here, selenite wherever I'm feeling discomfort, like in my power chakra or whatever, maybe rose quartz on my heart. And so I just kind of align myself and it just kind of clears and balances the energy and I begin to get tingles and I just fall asleep very quickly like that. And then that way you're also not only clearing yourself from the day, but also paying attention to your dreams because a lot of times we can have dreams that can be doorways to our subconscious mind or past lives or our guides. Speaking of that, Katie, do you have a dream that she's got a cool one? Would you mind sharing
Sure,
that?
sure.
Okay.
This is the one I shared at the meetup. So I had a series of dreams where I was interacting with doctors in this other strange place. Sometimes they took the form of my actual doctor, but more often than not, they didn't. They were examining my body in different places. It felt a little strange. They looked at my legs, they looked at my chakras, they looked at different things. It happened over the course of months. I thought, it seems like I'm being abducted, but whatever. So
That's nothing new for her.
I just kind of went on with life, because what does it mean? So then I had a session with Erica, and it was on something else entirely. And then when she was doing the healing work, she said, Katie, you have an extraterrestrial in your energy field. I'm like, oh, well, and I wasn't surprised. You thought I'd be surprised, but I wasn't surprised.
Not at all.
No.
She didn't blink an
I said,
eye.
"Oh, yeah, that
I
one-
literally saw this blue thing and it's right inside of her, like right inside.
So I thought, okay, well, that explains it, like it helps that actually validated for me, but maybe, I guess it is happening. So then, last year in November sometime, I started developing this pain in my left leg, like right at the top. And it didn't affect walking, but it affected other things like turning in bed, like, what is this? Nothing, I did, made it go away. I tried to stretch and nothing was helping. So I went to sleep one night, I was turning, it really hurt. So tomorrow's gonna be terrible, it's really bothering me. Then I had a dream with the doctor and I interacted with the doctor and I said, do I need surgery, doctor? It's like I'm existing in this other realm, like consciously figuring these things out, which I have no clue about here. And the doctor, who I didn't recognize, said, you'll be better in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I woke up from that dream and it felt like 50% better. I said, did that just happen? Because I'm always a little bit in doubt, like I've had things happen and I always say, that can't be, no, it can't be. But it was, it got better. I said, that really happened. And then within 3 weeks, it all went away and it hasn't come back. And I've had two other things happen, weren't as dramatic as that, but with other little minor things. I guess they're not helping with my major things, but minor things, I'm actually starting to ask them, well, just take care of this. I can't deal with it. I'm too busy. So
I'm human, too many responsibilities.
I can't handle the problems, take this away. So I'm trying to kind of work with them more like consciously if I can. So my work with you really helped kind of get me clear and maybe more empowered to just interact on that level with whoever I'm dealing with up there.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Mindfulness, being more aware and conscious. And then there's so much we can accomplish in our dream state.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much, yes.
Well, anything and everything can happen on this planet because we're a decimal planet. So what they do is they leave off the constraints. Because the other planets are very controlled, but so then it's in order to measure the context that we're in. And Pandora's box can happen on this planet.
Absolutely. Anything is possible on this planet.
I've never heard the
Absolutely.
expression decimal.
Yeah, we're a decimal planet.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, every 10th planet, they leave off the constraints so that they can measure where we are, our context. Yeah, because you don't know, it's so big, the context. And so if they do decimal planets, they can understand what the context is.
Wow. Nice. And yeah, so I do have some of my books here in case if anyone's interested. It's going to be at a discounted price. So it's on Amazon, you can find it for those who are online. Bridging Realms, Multidimensional Healing Through Past Lives and More. But here it's $17.88, but on Amazon you got to pay for shipping and tax and all of that. But today I'm having it as a special deal for $15 for anyone that was interested.
And
Yes.
Don has his book here, he's got 3 of them.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
if people that don't know Don and haven't got it, then you got the author here, 2 authors can sign the
I was
book.
wondering
Beautiful.
if you do book trades.
Book trades? We can do that. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to read your book. Is it about extraterrestrials?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Just read it.
Oh, you've read it. Is it great? Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. Thank
So,
you.
Any other questions? If not, no other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
When you see spirits, do you always see them physically or how do you see them?
Sometimes I see them clear as day, like I'm seeing you right now. I mean, with total detail. Sometimes they're shapeshifters. They do have a tendency to mess. You know, like they can appear like they're my dad or something, and I can feel the energy. I'm like, no, you're not my father. Get out. You know, Oh, yeah, yeah. So sometimes they do mess with you. Sometimes they try to scare me and they look really big and black and no, you're not gonna kick me out of this house. I live here, you know, I belong here. They still have ownership over the house that they once lived in or maybe died on that land and they don't know where else to go or how to heal from that trauma. So then when I'm like, okay, do you want me to help you or do you want me to just escort you out? And usually they'll want my help, but sometimes I do have to get my guides to forcefully take them to another dimension. If they're not playing nice, but most of the time, you know, they do accept my help. So I'm able to heal them and help them move to a different dimension. But, and then, once in a while, it's a feeling, or I'll just see like a flash of light, or just something moving really quickly from the corner of my eye. Sometimes it's that too. So it's not always this very clear image. It varies. And then sometimes it can be a version of somebody when they were like a child and they're no longer a child, but that's the part of them that's stuck in time that I need to help heal.
Have you ever come across a case that you couldn't move them on, or?
No, they always move on with or without wanting, because if it's the owner of the home's wish that to have them removed, because they're the people that are currently living there now. So and I explain this to the spirits, like, hey, this is no longer your home. Would you like my help, or do we just need to escort you? And some have put up a fight, and I'm like, here we go. And then sometimes I gotta get more and more guides involved, you know, to just force them out. But I don't leave them though, unless if they're wanted. Sometimes deceased loved ones are the people want them around. So I don't. So I only do everything by permission.
Do we know any of your guides?
Sure. Jesus is my number one. I've had a connection with Jesus since I was a child. I was not born Christian, or I'm not religious at all, but Jesus has always been in my heart and a part of me, who I talk to on a daily basis and call on him for help and healing. Archangel Michael for protection. I mean, like before I walk into a place, sometimes I may feel dizzy, or if I go somewhere and I'm like, holy cow, I can't handle this energy. Archangel Michael, please protect me. And he is usually pretty instant. But the other night when I was having the battles with those spirits that were really, you know, they came through somebody, and it took a while. Usually it doesn't take a while. Usually it's like fast. But there was like a big force that were, you know, messing with me. Yeah, so that was not fun, but you know.
We have 2 questions online. I'm curious if Erica has ever watched the TV show Ghosts. What she has shared seems to agree with the way they portray the ghosts on the show.
Yeah,
I wish I did. I don't watch TV, but can I watch it on YouTube or something? Because I don't watch TV. So I don't know what that is, but if there's a specific question about how it's portrayed in comparison to my experience, please do ask.
And then there's another question. How do you rid yourself of the energy of all the beings you encounter?
Well, I tell you what, the other night it was challenging, the night before last, when, you know, when I got attacked, because it interrupted my sleep. And I was pretty exhausted yesterday. I mean, I pushed through the day. I work 6 to 7 days a week, basically doing sessions, home clearings, and in person and remote. I do sessions worldwide. So by the time it was like late afternoon, evening, I was zombied out, and I made sure to use Palo Santo before going to bed. Whereas I did not do that the night before. So I do Palo Santo on a daily basis to clear myself and my entire home, which is which is just like sage, if some of you are not familiar with Palo Santo. But the thing I like about Palo Santo better than sage is that it replaces the energy with like peaceful energy, as opposed to just clearing, but it replaces, which I love. And people usually feel very peaceful when I'm done. It's like very light. Um, and, um, and then also, salt baths and showers. Like this morning, you know, I had to cleanse myself with salt 2 or 3 times from head to toe while I was in the shower to make sure that my energy was completely clear, as well as using crystals. So those are my methods of, and then, you know, just kind of building that Archangel Michael's shield around me when necessary.
How did you do the salt?
Oh, the sea salt? Oh, that's a good question. So I have a jar of sea salt. I love Himalayan salt, but it could be any salt really. In my shower, and it's kind of mixed with water, so it's kind of like a paste. And I just dab it all over from head to toe, like, you know, and then sometimes I even scrub myself with it. And then I'll rinse. And then when I close my eyes, I check to see if there's any areas that are still dark, and then I reapply in those areas, rinse, and then I just see a lot of light coming through and showering, cleansing me until I don't need to do it again. So sometimes it does take 2 or 3 applications. Yeah.
Would you mind telling us, because you do past life regression, the wildest story that you have?
The wildest story that I have, well, I mean, I shared one of them, which was a concentration camp, because being thrown in the gas tank.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that numerous times, to be
Okay.
honest with you,
Okay.
which is pretty scary. Like, I saw this one lady, her current wife's mother was working for Hitler. And he's the one that instructed them to throw her in the gas chamber. And so when I told her that, she's like, oh, is that why my entire life I've had nothing but problems with my mom, and I've always felt like she's been my enemy? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's like some people say that, oh yeah, just give it to me. I don't care. I want to know the truth, right? But then I'm like, are you sure? Are you positive? You're ready for this? Yeah. And then I told her and she was traumatized. You know, I'm like, okay, now I gotta calm her down and really heal her from the past and present of knowing, and then integrating some new decisions so she could feel more resourceful in knowing how to handle her mother from this point forward.
Yeah.
Past life regression can heal people physically, mentally, emotionally, clear the spiritual blocks, help you get more connected with your gifts, and live more empowering lives. I mean, I can't recommend it enough, but it's important that we connect the dots between the past and present and what brought you here and why you have these challenges. And that's where I have my X-ray eyes to be able to connect dots through divine guidance. It's really not me. I just get the information to help people get to the root of their challenges. But it is extremely healing, and it can heal depression and anything else. I also see Matthew Beckman on the online. Matthew, are you there?
Press the space bar.
Spacebar?
No, him.
Oh.
That one,
Oh.
him.
You might. I'll ask him to unmute. He might be like occupied, or maybe. he's not
Okay.
able to.
Okay, Matthew, in case if you're occupied, I understand, but he's a part of my book, so I just wanted to see if he had anything to share. But, and if anyone wants to share any experiences or anything, you're welcome to as well.
It might be, I know.
Where do you go from here?
What's that?
Where do you and your career, where are you going from here?
Where am I going from here? You know what? It's just one step at a time, one day at a time, wherever I'm guided to go. I don't know, because I'm not always shown the future, like where I'm going to be in 10 years from now. But I do have a feeling that I'm going to be working with groups in the future. I do feel that. So when I get to that chapter in my journey, I will definitely let people know. But yeah, so it should be fun doing some soul traveling as groups. But yeah, that's one idea. So I just take things based on wherever my guidance takes me, and they don't always show me what's around the corner. It's really not always for me to know at the time, so. Thank you. Yes.
What do you charge for your work?
So for my regular sessions are $2.99 for a 2-hour session. For home clearing, it's that. If it's remote, for in person, it's $3.99. And then also I am having an introductory special for remote sessions where it's your first session is $1.99. And if anyone today is interested in doing a remote or in person, I'll just honor the remote special that I have, which is $100 off my regular price, which will be $199. Yeah. And is my information online in case if anyone online needs it?
I'll put that on the chat here.
Thank you so much. So healingwish.net is my website, and all my contact information is there as well. And my cards are up here for the local people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure giving my first talk, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. I finally came out of the closet. It was time. That was fun. Thank you all for your support.
Well, I will do just a plug for Erica. So I
Yeah.
recently had a home clearing session. And she did some other personal work, and it was very profound and went directions I would not have expected. And so I can still feel in my body the release that
Ooh,
had taken place. So
nice. And that was a couple weeks ago, something like that? A week ago. Okay. And do you want to share anything about your guide or anything like that, or?
no.
No, okay. Yeah. It's always fun seeing people's spirit guides, so.
Okay, we'll sign off this here.
Bye, guys. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
joining
Thank you.
online.